Welcome back to KYNG's Inner Town Hall. Our guest today is Bob Shepard, who is Assistant Professor of English at the college. And Bob is teaching, as we mentioned earlier, a fascinating class in Oregon literature. He just read us a very beautiful Indian poem expressing the spirit of some of the works he's looking at. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about rain in the next few minutes.
Well, how can you talk about Oregon without talking about rain? I think rain is the one motif that I guess sinks into all of our Oregon literature. Oregon literature probably is the soggiest literature around, Pauline. But from the very beginnings, again, we can go back to the Indians, and although this is not an Oregon poem, I think it expresses the Oregonian, the Northwesterners' problem with rain. There's a little Nootka Indian chant, and Nootkas were a tribe up in British Columbia, along the coast near Vancouver. This was called The Plaint Against the Fog, and you can kind of imagine these old Nootka Indians in their blankets decrying up at the sky, talking to God. Don't you ever, you up in the sky, don't you ever get tired of having the clouds between you and us? But of course, it's more than clouds that we have as a problem here. When Lewis and Clark made their expedition here in 1805 and 1806, they noticed that problem too. I have some excerpts from the Lewis and Clark journals that I'll share with you. After they had established that little log fort up at Fort Clatsop on January 7th, 1806, they'd been established there for about a month, and they'd finished the fort, and at this time there were even bunks to sleep in. Clark had gone down the coast looking for some missing troops who'd been on a salt-making expedition by the sea, and Lewis was writing by the light of one of the last candles that the expedition had. And this is what he wrote that night. This is the first day during which we have had no rain since we arrived at this place. If you go back in the journals earlier, you find just a long series of diatribes and execrations against the rain. November 22nd, a moderate rain all the last night with wind. A little before daylight, the wind, which was from the south-southeast, blew with such violence that we were almost overwhelmed with water flowing from the river. The storm did not cease at day, but blew with nearly equal violence throughout the whole day, accompanied with rain. Oh, how horrible, that's the way he spells it. Oh, how horrible is the day. Waves breaking with great violence against the shore, throwing water into our camp, etc. All wet and confined to our shelters. The next day, a calm, cloudy morning, a moderate rain the greater part of the last night. On December 26th, rained and blew hard last night, some hard thunder. The rain continued as usual all day, and wind blew hard from the southeast. The next day, rained last night as usual, and the greater part of this day. The men complete chimneys and bunks today. In spite of all this complaining about the rain, though, when the settlers did arrive, they seemed to be trying to create the idea that it never rained here, or almost never rained. Some of the early writings we get from newspapers in Oregon, which were, of course, more promotional tracts than newspapers, said that this was the place with just the ideal climate. This is from the Oregon Spectator. Happily situated in a healthy and fertile part of the continent with a salubrious climate, the soil yielding a rich reward to the industrious cultivator with an abundance of water power not surpassed on the globe, to invite the attention and investment of capitalists in the establishment of machinery. Immediately on the coast of the mighty Pacific, with bays and rivers traversing our rich and fertile plains, affording the greatest facilities to commerce, and must, with the intelligent and enterprising Anglo-Saxons, in a short time become one of the greatest commercial countries on the Pacific.
That sounds somewhat familiar. Bob and I have just come from a visit to a piece of Coos Bay history, the Marshfield Sun Building, and at an earlier visit there, I saw a promotional tract for Marshfield called The Instigator. And again, there was a lot of extolling about the water. No one mentioned how it got here. They just talked about the water. How do you, as a transplanted Oregonian, feel about all the rain that you have to put up with?
I really don't mind it very much. I never got along with snow very well, and I'm kind of sensitive to sunburn too. So I rather thrive on the cloudy weather around here. But I can understand it when people get cabin fever.
Now, you said to me earlier today that this is a class that's offered at the college periodically. Oregon literature is offered maybe once every 3 years or so. How does this compare with other kinds of literature classes you might have taught?
I think that the first thing I would say is that it's more fun. It's such a vital, brawling kind of literature that you can't help. If you like being in Oregon, if you like Oregon people, you cannot help but become greatly involved in this kind of literature. We have probably few works that would be considered real classics in Oregon literature, and I love those too. I just finished a 5-year stint of teaching American literature out there. But there's something very special, I think, about becoming acquainted with the literature of your own place. It first of all offers kind of a threshold interest to people who may think that they are not really interested in literature. Well, if they're not interested in literature, they may be interested in Oregon. And the Oregon writers have given us some interesting perspectives and ways to look at Oregon. We're living in an age where I think regionalism is having a revival. People are becoming more committed to their regions. And I think this is reflected in a lot of ways. Literary studies being one of them. There's a revival of study of local history, for instance. Don Stensland is running a workshop out there this weekend, not at the college, but it's something entitled Scenic Geology of Oregon. He's taking a class on a field trip around the state and showing them some of the scenic wonders that we have here, and giving them a geological understanding of how they came to be. I think all this reflects a tremendous amount of interest that people are showing nowadays in localism, regionalism, and so forth.
Do you find that the makeup of your class is mostly transplanted Oregonians, or do you find that there are a lot of people who've always lived here who weren't aware of the great wealth of Oregon literature?
I think that most of the people have been transplants. We have had some natives, but I think by far the majority, as I guess the majority of Oregonians I have met, were transplants. Certainly the most enthusiastic ones, I think, as I stated earlier, are the transplants.
Is it too late to sign up for the class? It sounds like a really fascinating class to participate in. Are your classes full, or can people still get in?
People can certainly still get in, and I'd be glad to have them.
If you're interested in joining the Oregon Literature class, you can call the college at 888-3234 for more information. Class meets Monday nights at 7, as I understand it, Bob. Thank you for being with us on Middletown Hall. Our guest today has been Bob Shepard, an associate assistant professor at Southwestern Oregon Community College, and he's told us a lot of things about Oregon literature that I, for one, never knew. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. I really enjoyed being here.
23 minutes after 10 o'clock, and that concludes this morning's edition of King's Middletown Hall for a Tuesday morning, the 2nd day of October, 1978.